So our last presenter is Ava Hoffman. She comes from the Department of Biology, the graduate degree program in Ecology. And the title of her presentation is Breaking Down the Drought Portfolio in Grasslands.
Thanks for sticking around. I promise I'll keep this short and sweet. If you've ever seen a sprinkler running in someone's yard or in a park, you know that grasses need water. Grasses and native systems need water too, even though they're not always the first plants we think of. Unfortunately, climate change experts are predicting droughts to increase in frequency and severity in coming years. We only need to think back to the recent droughts in California, the droughts in 2012, or maybe to the Dust Bowl, to imagine how stressful this is on plants and the organisms that rely on them. However, some plants, including the grasses around Fort Collins and in the rest of the Great Plains, are uniquely adapted to drought. They evolved in these conditions. One such grass, big bluestem, is very common in the tallgrass prairies of the Midwest. We like to say that it's dominant, and it has a huge amount of genetic diversity, what we like to think of as different strains or cultivars. We think that this genetic diversity acts much like a stock portfolio. When times are bad, lots of stock diversity provides insurance. In the same way, lots of genetic diversity could provide insurance to big bluestem under different climate conditions. Now, I don't know how good grasses are at investing, but this is a great strategy to have if you don't know whether the next year will be a good one or a bad one. I looked at 3 different strains of big bluestem taken from the tallgrass prairie and found that they varied in the thresholds at which they succumb to drought. This means that some are really good at holding on and surviving drought, whereas others are fast-growing and big, but only under certain conditions. And this is pretty strong support for the portfolio effect within a single species. One trait that I found really interesting is a difference in reproductive strategy among these strains. One strain likes to reproduce by making clones of itself. It's really self-centered. The other 2 like to reproduce by flowering. Now, flowering is really important for dealing with drought because it allows parents to shuffle their genetic material, making even more genetic diversity. Genetic diversity is something that's very important to understand if we're going to restore these endangered grasslands to their natural mix of strains, but it also tells us if genetic diversity is something that's very important to understand going forward and in predicting how species respond to climate change. Big bluestem is going to be a great success story for understanding drought, but it also is a great example for understanding how other ecosystems will respond to drought all the way back to our own parks and backyards. Thank you.